In today's episode, I'm going to be speaking to a question raised by a parent about her youngster's impulsive behavior. Dear Susan, I have a 10-year-old son who's a sweet boy, but frequently acts without thinking. This has gotten him into a lot of trouble at school and at home. He blurts things out inappropriately, takes things from classmates for a laugh, and runs off when we're at the mall. We've tried telling him to act his age and tried punishing him when he doesn't, but nothing seems to help. What can we do? Signed, Sick of Scolding. Hi, I'm Susan Stiffelman. I'm the author of Parenting Without Power Struggles and Parenting with Presence. For many years, I was the weekly parenting advice columnist for AOL and then Huffington Post, drawing from my experience as a family therapist working with thousands of parents and children for over 40 years. I fielded a lot of questions from parents. Here are my thoughts about this one. There is a gap or a pause between the moment a child feels an impulse to do something and the moment he acts on that feeling. In a young child, that pause is so short that for all intents and purposes, he'll act on whatever impulse he feels, disregarding issues of safety and propriety. That's why we keep a close eye on our little kids, because we act as the inhibitory response that reins in their potential recklessness. Now, as kids get older, they improve at hitting pause before acting on an impulse so that they have time to decide whether it is or it isn't a good idea. Children who have issues with impulsivity behave as though they're younger than they are because their prefrontal cortex, or PFC, isn't yet as developed or as on board as maybe their peers. Remember, brains, like bodies, develop at their own unique rate. Without this PFC saying, whoa, taking my classmate's pencil and running off would probably get some laughs from the other kids, but he might not like it and I might get in trouble like last time. I better not do that. Doesn't happen. This kind of restraint requires a long enough pause between the urge or the impulse and the acting on that impulse. So imagine that at 10:05 and 30 seconds, Johnny has the impulse to grab Peter's pencil and to run off with it. He knows it might get some laughs from his friends, and hey, it just might liven things up in the classroom because he's kind of bored. With a more developed prefrontal cortex, he would take from 10:05 and 30 seconds to maybe 10:05 and 55 seconds to weigh the pros and cons of taking the pencil. But if Johnny's PFC is less mature and developed, that gap may only be a couple of seconds, not long enough for him to come to the more mature decision that grabbing the pencil might be a bad idea. The same goes for running off at the mall or blurting out inappropriate things to get a laugh and so on. This is so frustrating to parents who expect children to act their age. Lectures, threats, punishments, they often aren't effective because that pause between the impulse and the acting on the impulse just isn't long enough for the child to consider whether or not he should grab the pencil and run off, or think about what happened last time and how his parent told him, if you do that again, you're going to get in big trouble. It just isn't long enough for that calculation to be made. So here's my advice. If you have a child who's highly impulsive, adjust your expectations to be more realistic. Your child isn't going to mature more quickly just because you wish he would. Put him in charge of something. While you can't accelerate a child's maturity per se, you can provide a child with opportunities to take on more and more levels of responsibility, whether it's helping you carry in the groceries, choosing where to plant the sunflowers, or deciding whether to put cinnamon in the cookies that you're making together. In other words, look for moments when your son gets to step into bigger shoes and as this parent put it, act his age. Martial arts classes can be really good. Some highly impulsive children really benefit from that training. If the teacher's patient, the child may learn how to slow down and better manage impulses, develop a sense of self-discipline. Make sure your child is well rested. This is true for all children, but well rested and nourished can make even more of a difference in a child prone to impulsivity. When they're hungry, tired, or fueled by excessive sugar, many kids will find it much harder to manage their behavior. Give your child the chance to do something that makes him feel successful, whether it's swimming or singing or jumping on the trampoline. Many impulsive children feel like they're constantly failing or disappointing us, which puts them in a state of stress that just fuels their misbehavior. If the ideas that I'm talking about, and more importantly, the feeling and sensibility behind them resonate for you, I have a little gift that might be of interest. It's a free tip sheet on building and strengthening and fortifying attachment based on many of the ideas I teach in my work and my books. You can head to susanstiffelman.com/attachment and it will be yours. Now back to our video. Brainstorm what your child can do when he's restless in class or likely to become disruptive, like to play with a squeezy ball or rub his hands together to just start to slow down his reactivity. Help him get used to doing these activities through role play. Repeated practice at acting out alternative strategies often helps impulsive children stretch out that pause between wanting to do something and deciding that it's not a good idea. Help your child develop awareness of his surroundings by inviting him to find potential hazards in his immediate environment when you're out together. So he begins to learn to pay special attention, like cars in the parking lot. As frustrating as it is to deal with a child's impulsive behavior, if we accept our children as they are rather than comparing them to what I call the snapshot child, the idealized child, you find that you're better able to teach your kids how to manage their behavior. Every child, remember, develops at their very own rate. Avoid shaming or blaming an impulsive child. Make sure your expectations line up with reality, and you'll help train that child to learn how to hit the pause button quicker to New Year. Stay in touch. Please visit susanstiffelman.com and you can sign up for my newsletter, stay in touch with all the programs. We have over 30 masterclasses there. We have the Parenting Without Power Struggles membership, where I work with parents twice a month personally, addressing their concerns and problems and challenges and breaking old patterns so that we can be more present and engaged as the loving captain of the ship. And then we have a co-parenting with a narcissist membership as well. And of course, the podcast. Hope you've enjoyed this and would love for you to share with your friends, leave a comment, let us know what you'd like me to be addressing or talking about. And let's bring a lot of love and connection and joy and ease and fewer power struggles into the year ahead. Thanks, everyone.